With spring practice coming, we will preview what USC has done to improve its defense. LAFC has no place to go when it snows, when it snows, when it snows. And Bronny James, who can't even start for USC, it claims he's draftable. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city of the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. Welcome to Tough Love Sunday, because I'm going to be saying some things that I'd rather not say on a Sunday, because it's the Lord's Day. But we have to be authentic, so we're going to go there. It is March 3rd, 2024. We added a new subscriber to the Angeleno Familia. Thank you for getting in on the ground floor. I'm going to do my best to keep you informed, and if you like being in the know about LA sports, click the like button. Click the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means, comment. We have so much to get to today. You've got to be able to have an opinion on some of this stuff. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. LeBron James became the first player in NBA history to pass 40,000 career points last night. He scored 36. But the Lakers fell to Denver 124-114. The upshot is this: Nikola Jokic outplayed Anthony Davis yet again. The Joker had 35 points, Anthony Davis 17. The Galaxy, behind a goal and an assist, both from Dejan Joveljic and Joseph Pantsil, they knocked out San Jose 3-1. Terrific game for the Galaxy last night. Meanwhile, LAFC, oh boy, it's not the worst loss in LAFC history. They did wind up losing to Minnesota, for example, 5-1. But losing 3-0 to Real Salt Lake, oh, that's pretty bad. Now, it happened in a snowstorm. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. Dylan Andrews scored 21 points, but the Bruins have fallen to 14-14. They lose to Washington State yesterday, 77, to 65. USC, meanwhile, upended Washington 82-75. Isaiah Collier scored 31 points, and Andy Enfield is number 3 all-time for USC in coaching victories. He has 216. Meanwhile, today the Clippers are at Minnesota at 12:30. Russell Westbrook is out indefinitely. He has a broken hand, and New Jersey will play at the Kings at 12:30 as well. But let's get to the news. Now, spring ball opens up in about a couple of weeks for USC. And there are a lot of compelling notes for the Trojans. Battles, players to watch. Now, 24/7 Sports predicted 5 players to have a breakout training camp. 4 of them are on the defense. And I'm not necessarily sure I buy all 4, but we'll run them down really quickly. They like safety Zion Branch. And I'm okay with that because he does make plays when he's not hurt. But keep in mind, Kamari Ramsey is also likely a starter. He's a transfer from UCLA. So Zion Branch could have a breakout camp, but suffice it to say he probably needs a breakout camp. After all, Ramsey is much more familiar with the system from new defensive coordinator Anthony Lynn. They said the same thing about cornerback Jacoby Covington. Got to stay healthy. And if he does, he could have a breakout camp. I am skeptical, though, that defensive lineman Elijah Hughes will make a jump. I can think of at least 3 people who are ahead of him on the depth chart. Also, they think defensive end Braylon Shelby can make a mark because, well, he's a sophomore. He recorded 2 sacks as a freshman, and that's not too shabby. But I want to, after listing those 4 guys, Branch, Covington, Hughes, and Shelby, I want to give you a slightly different take than what 24/7 Sports provided. For example, Branch and Covington, their standards are different. They simply have to stay healthy and make a little bit of a decent impression to have a good shot at playing. But for Hughes and Shelby, They are special because they were two of the many, many victims under former defensive coordinator Alex Grinch. See, Grinch actually liked smaller defensive linemen for his speed D. Hughes weighed 270 pounds, and because of his size, that's what made him fall out of favor with Grinch in the first place. Similarly, Shelby didn't get much playing time toward the end of the season because in the speed D, you don't just rush the quarterback if you're at end. You have to drop into coverage a lot. And if you can't keep up with a tight end or a wide receiver, you're on the bench. So, in my arrogant little opinion, Lynn can come in and simplify things. That could literally help Shelby immensely right off the bat. Just if Lynn goes, hey, you see that guy over there? Kill that guy. He's the opposing quarterback. If that's all that needs to happen, then yeah, I believe in Shelby. And if size really does matter, you would assume that Hughes has added a few more pounds to his frame. Yeah, I can see him moving up the depth chart. Also with the Trojans, I want to repeat something that I mentioned before about the defense. There is going to be a battle in spring ball, in my opinion. The one to really watch is going to be at linebacker. New assistant coach Matt Entz said that the Trojans defense will often look like a 4-2-5, which means there are only two starting linebacker jobs available. Now, one is going to definitely go to Easton Mascarenas-Arnold because he's an all Pac-12 transfer from Oregon State. The dude is a tackling machine. So what does that mean? That leaves Mason Cobb versus Eric Gentry for the final linebacker spot. Cobb led the team in tackles last year. Gentry, when he's healthy, just makes a lot of plays. So to me, that's your battle. Meanwhile, on offense, 24/7 Sports projected offensive tackle Elijah Page for a big spring camp. After all, somebody has to take over for Jonah Monheim, and Page has the inside track. Something that also sort of has to do with the Trojans, just not so much. The Athletic has spoken with multiple executives and coaches in the NFL and asked, look, not going to put your name, what do you really think of Caleb Williams? And the upshot is this. They all say, don't overthink it. He's the best player in the draft. So yes, I'm going to be coming up with stories during the course of the next few weeks. Oh, Caleb Williams is this, Caleb Williams is that. Teams are not looking on him kindly for whatever. There's a really good chance it's all a smokescreen. Don't overthink it. He's the best player in the draft. I go out of my way to call things down the middle for LAFC, right? Because you can't take their MLS Cup away, much like you can't take the 5 cups that the LA Galaxy have away. But yesterday, LAFC lost in a snowstorm up in Salt Lake City. And man, oh man, did LAFC's manager, Steve Cherundolo, lose his composure over it. Not only was it Steve Cherundolo losing his composure, Ryan Hollingshead threatened to go to the players' union over it. The game shouldn't have been played, they all say. Absolute joke, quote unquote. Disgrace, quote unquote. And then there were people who went to the social medias and they were saying, yeah, you know, we ought to like get rid of the teams that play in poor weather. We ought to force them to buy a dome and stuff like that. Hundreds of millions of dollars just because they played one game in the snow, right? Here's the deal. When I was a sports writer, once I wrote for the San Bernardino Sun. CIF sanctioned girls soccer. And I wind up covering a girls team from San Gregorio High School out in the Inland Empire. They went to Ventura for a playoff game, and they played it in the snow. Not only did they play it in the snow, guys, they played in shorts. They played in regular short-sleeved kits. In other words, no extra layers, no warming pants or anything like that. They were playing in their shorts. And then I asked the captain, why no long sleeves? Why couldn't you at least play in long sleeves? To which she replied that the coach was old school, that in traditional soccer, you play in the damn elements and you tough it out, even if you're a teenage girl. In other words, teenage girls are tougher than the roster of LAFC. Sucks to say it. Teenage girls from the Inland Empire were tougher than LAFC was yesterday. And if I were an LAFC supporter, I would be troubled by that. I wouldn't just be complaining about, oh, we shouldn't have been playing in the snow. No. I would be troubled by losing 3-0 in any soccer game. I don't care if it's played in a snowstorm, and I don't care if it's playing on burning hot coals. You can't lose 3-0. They generated almost no offense. And by the way, losing is okay, as long as you at least try. But there is no way to spin it. 3-0 means you got your butt kicked. Snow or not. Tough love Sunday, guys. It's Tough Love Sunday. And speaking of Tough Love Sunday, Bronny James was, there was a story on Bronny James on CBSSports.com last night. Bronny James said through his agent, that he will decide whether he is going to be one and done. And it's not going to be based on mock drafts. It's going to be based on team interest. And I hate to tell any adult man what to do with their lives. It is not my bag. And trust me, everybody likes to call LeBron James' son a kid. He is an adult man. Let's not get it twisted. So I don't want to tell him what to do with his life. I really don't. But in this case, I have to. Because there is absolutely nothing that suggests he is ready for the NBA. And we all have to admit it, finally. We have to admit it. The guy is not ready. He doesn't even start for a sub 500 team. Now, please understand, I love LA teams, obviously. I love the Lakers. I have nothing but respect for LeBron James. I get that he's divisive. I respect what he does on the court, absolutely. And I have no reason to think Bronny James is a bad guy. No reason to think that at all. But we live in LA, and there's a lot of hype about things in LA. But on this program, we embrace reality. He is not ready. And it brings to mind another question. What does that make LeBron James? Does it make him yet another version of LeVar Ball, hyping his kid into the things that he simply isn't going to be? Look, Bronny James doesn't suck. I'm just saying he's not NBA ready. He doesn't dominate in anything. LeBron James was tweeting about how his son could play for the Lakers right now. He's not even better than Boogie Ellis. What are we talking about? If I were a player at the end of the Lakers bench, if I were Max Christie, if I were Jalen Hood-Schifino, and I found out that Bronny James could take my job, you know what I'm doing? I am lighting him up in practice. I am begging for pick and rolls. I am begging for isolations. I would literally go out of my way to humiliate Bronny James because that would be the only way to keep my job. Bronny James is not one and done. If he is one and done, he is making a tragic mistake. Because if he stays in college, he will eventually start for USC and he will eventually learn how to play a better game. The Los Angeles Times said that the Dodgers are adjusting the repertoire for incoming starting pitcher James Paxton. They want to replace his cut fastball with something called a bullet slider. Now, I've never heard of a bullet slider. I've seen a lot of baseball. I've never heard of a bullet slider. The other takeaway is that Paxton, who has had surgery, wore down with the Red Sox last year as the season dragged along. So he will be starting, but they're also going to be looking to give him extra days off when feasible. Also with the Dodgers, San Francisco, they have signed one of the few remaining big-name free agents left on the market in third baseman Matt Chapman. Now, this prompted CBSSports.com to ask if the Giants have enough to catch the Dodgers. No, they do not. The San Francisco Giants do not have enough to catch the Dodgers. Shut the bleep up with that mess. It's not happening. Now, also keep in mind, Chapman is a Scott Boras client. And if you remember way back in the day, if you're old enough to remember when the Fox network owned the Dodgers, Boras milked the Fox network for all he could. He would just package a bunch of clients and just shovel them onto the Dodgers. If you don't sign this guy, you can't get the guy you really want. In that case, it was Kevin Brown. So do not be surprised if you start hearing stories about Blake Snell going to the Giants. And if that happens, by the way, no, CBS, they're not going to catch the Dodgers. Not happening. Just so you know. Brandon Staley has a job. Good for him, right? The former Rams defensive coordinator and Chargers head coach will work for Scum Francisco in a so-called prominent role. This is according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. There is a belief that he could wind up being the assistant head coach. The reason that he's not going to be defensive coordinator is the Niners already have one in Nick Sorensen. And to be honest with you, I'm cool with it as a Rams fan. You see, the only thing that we know that Staley excels at is calling defense. If you put anything that pulls him away from calling defense, we have no reason to believe he's going to succeed, which means it's better for the Rams. Now, I could be wrong. Don't get it twisted. San Francisco 49ers have gone to the Super Bowl for a reason. But if Brandon Staley is going to be the poison pill, I'm all for it. The Athletic tried to build a case for Kings rookie defenseman Brandt Clark. Should this elite prospect get more playing time? After all, there's an injury to Mikey Anderson on the top pairing with Drew Doughty. The answer is actually extremely unclear. Clark is really trying to get more playing time. But you take Thursday in Vancouver, for example. The dude played only 7 minutes. 7. Fewest of anybody on the Kings roster. But he also scored a goal. You tell me what that means. Speaking of telling me what it means, you tell me what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about the battles that are going to happen at USC spring practice on defense. Do you believe that LAFC got screwed, or should they have toughened it out like a high school chick? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We are talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Quian Porta El Queso production. Take care.